You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei.
Hello and welcome to the Techie Leadership Show. Today with me I have Rudradeb Mitra. He is an AI engineer turned tech entrepreneur. He published 10 research papers on AI and wrote a book on AI. The book is Creating Value with Artificial Intelligence, Lesson Learned from 10 years of building AI products and overcoming data adoption and engineering challenges. Rudradeb also built 6 tech startups, a lot of startups, one with multi-million dollars in profits in 4 countries with 4 complete failures. Now he is building his 7th startup, Omneda, a platform for building AI for the real world through global collaboration. In a year, he grew the startup with zero advertising budget to over 1,100 collaborators from 80 countries executing 21 projects. That's awesome, Rudradeb, and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Andrei, for having me.
It's a pleasure. Do you want to add anything about yourself?
Nothing, not the professional part, but in the personal part, maybe that I'm a minimalist, and I kind of try to live a life which is not trying to control things, where it's more about not having any goals in life and just let the universe show what it leads me to. So maybe many people might think that to perhaps achieve goal in things in life, you need to have a very fixed goal and very driven. And I actually, in some ways, opposite. And I call that way of life as effortless living, which is, I think, very important in today's world, given a lot of people are too stressed out trying to achieve certain goals, self-made goals that I use. Trying to achieve self-made goals, getting stressed too much, it makes no sense. And I think there's a huge need for people to relook at what they are doing and kind of do things that feels effortless. That's the only thing I will add.
That is awesome. And I know we had some discussions about this when you were in Yash and you hold the meetup. And it was like really incredible, the discussion itself. And I'm really looking forward to find out your thoughts about leadership. And if there is something like effortless leadership, I would really be curious if you have some thoughts on that. If it also parlays your effortless living to effortless leadership.
Absolutely. I think that we have to redefine what leadership means in many ways. But if you define leadership as what I think a great leader is, not someone who is being this, let's say, alpha male kind of view which people are following, but a leader is someone who is inspiring others. I think that's the typical view of a good leader should be, who is more collaborative, who is more inclusive, who is more listening, and who is not just a macho kind of person. And this is quite important to understand this, because I remember I read an article somewhere after this movie that came out about Steve Jobs. And where in the movie, it was shown that Steve Jobs was this really very arrogant and verbally abusive boss. And in fact, the article said that after watching that movie, a lot of CEOs of companies ended up changing themselves, personifying themselves like Steve Jobs, ending up being more abusive and kind of being this alpha personality. What I think they don't understand, that these things with the weakness of Steve Jobs actually may have inhibited him from some ways than actually helping him to achieve what he wanted to. I think that's the phase where he built Apple, then he moved out. And I think that was a phase of his life. Perhaps we refound himself. I don't know him personally, so of course I cannot tell you, but I do think that that is not because of those qualities, but in spite of those qualities, he was able to achieve that because he was very hardworking and very driven, which was absolutely important. But this idea of being a leader, being someone who has to be this really strong, macho personality, both male and female, that's, I think, is not true.
Yeah, and that's something that I am discovering with each episode, because I am surprised, like, overarching theme of all the interviews I did until now is like, if you want to be a leader, don't confuse it with being macho, with the what you see in movies. It doesn't have. You have to be humble. You have to be kind. You have to collaborate with people, and lift them up and help them succeed in what they're doing. That's your job. You're more of a servant than what you see in movies, where you are like yelling and pounding with your fists, and it's more. And it's funny because I found out, like, in one of the interviews, not even in the army they don't do it like that, like you see it in the movies. So they're really polite with one each other. They don't raise their voices. They talk nice. They don't even like give that much orders. They say, like, could you take care of this and something and stuff like that. It's not. I don't know what happened. Like in pop culture, we got this image of the leader that is like an alpha male or an alpha woman, and they always are goal driven, but not nice in their approach, and they shove people and push them, and it's not. They don't create an enjoyable workplace, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think that Hollywood or the pop culture, if people follow that and think that's reality, then they need to understand reality is completely different. So Hollywood is just a movie culture, and that's, they're just fantasy world in some ways, or any movie culture is a fantasy world. I do think that there are leaders that have been, let's say, the word, I use the word successful. Successful has a whole definition, but let's say leaders who have achieved a lot materialistic in the world by being that
Yes.
kind of macho thing. I mean, you can look at Stalin. I mean, again, that's what I've heard about him. Or even, you come from Romania, so you of course know. I don't know how Nicolae Ceausescu was, but I heard, at least what I've read about him, that he was also very, kind of strong leader. That's the word we would say. Use the word perhaps. I think maybe in the past it might have worked. But I think that in more and more, as people are not easy to control, as people are getting more and more access to knowledge, I think the way to be a leader is, and they have now options. It's not like at that time there's only one option that you can put a gun in front of them and say, okay, do this. But I think the more and more they are getting access to knowledge, they have more options. The only way you can be a leader is by inspiring them to be the best. And I think that's how you want to be remembered also at the end of the day. Like, how I have thought a lot about it, what kind of life one should live. And I always think that, a life that you worth living, live a life that is worth living. And what is that meaning? I think a life worth living is where other people, look up to you. They find it inspiring, and you can help other people achieve their goals. I think that's the kind of great leader is.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up Stalin, because I don't remember where I read it, but the way he got in power was he was like in the top commission, and it was they were split. It wasn't an odd number of people, it was an even number of people on the commission. So it was really hard to take decision in that commission because no majority could be formed. And the way he actually surpassed them and got power over them is he never spoke. He was the last. He made it a point to be the last one to speak, and he would throw his vote in a direction or the other, and that's how he got power. So he didn't get power by bullying them, by being super aggressive or threatening them or talking a lot during the meeting. Actually, he was the quiet one, and he spoke at the end and said, like, well, I'll go with this side or that other side. So the way he got in power wasn't through what you consider him. Afterwards, yeah, he was really, really bad with the people and everything he did. But the way he rose and he formed his inner circle was basically by listening more than talking, which is interesting. And Rudradeb, I'm really curious about your stories. With which one would you want to start? Do you want to start with the leadership success story or the leadership failure story, or which one do you recommend more?
I mean, let's start with the failure first, because I think the failures is where
Awesome.
one learns a lot. I think, I mean, there is no one specific story, because leadership is it's a personality trait, right? So it's not about one startup failure. I think I've learned over the last, let's say, 10 years. I think the
Yes.
first startup that failed, and I remember that the most, because that was
Okay.
a complete failure of leadership in every way. I think that was because I was not willing to listen, and I was more driven by my own personal agenda, let's say, or vision, or whatever it is, and it was driven by that, without kind of listening and to my co-founders and people I was working with. And I remember spending a lot of my time arguing or talking about, my opinions, instead of trying to listen to the opinion. So I think that was one of the first things that I have learned, that if I ever have to work in a team and kind of be a good leader, I have to move out from that kind of role where I have to be always right, and kind of listen to what others say, and then kind of, not push my opinions all the time. I think that's one of the key things I've learned. The second thing that I've learned, I don't know if it's from a failure or it's just kind of I've learned in general, is
Okay.
which often people say, is that work with people who are smarter than you. So once I'm surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me, I think that I naturally, these are the things that helped me to be a good leader, in a way that I try to end up being more, you know aware of other people's thoughts and ideas. So because I know that, okay, these people are much more smarter than me in general, so I'm trying to listen to them. So surrounding yourself with smarter people, smarter than you, is I think is a great another leadership trait, which I initially failed also, and I learned that through some failure. So I think these are the two things that I kind of really learned through execution. Is basically one, how to listen more and not push your opinions, and surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who may not agree with you, but they have their information knowledge is very
Yes.
important, and not just surround yourself with people who are just saying yes always to you.
Exactly. And I think that the side benefit of surrounding yourself with really smart people, you have more of a tendency to listen to them and take their advice into consideration. And it's easier to take your ego out of the whole situation and everything that's happening. Because if you have the illusion that you're smarter than another person, it might be, in my opinion, it might be in some cases, but you cannot be smarter in all the fields of life. There are some domains where that person is way smarter than you are. And so it goes with everything, every person you meet. So everybody excels at something better than you could ever do it, because they spend more time doing it. So you can always draw some information. And I think that your insight is really, really, really great. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the surrounding yourself with those people is very important. I think there is a saying that we end up being the average of the 5 closest people we have in our environment. And if I have learned one thing in my life, and that is, surround yourself with people that you admire, that you find inspiring, and that would also, help you to be, I think, end up being a good leader also.
And how do you go about like finding people that are better than you, that inspire you? Do you have some tips on how to recognize them?
Not really. I think that there are, in my case, it happened organically. There are people who have a very methodical way to achieve that. So, for example, I was reading a book where they say this guy wanted to be rich, so he just started renting a apartment in this rich neighborhood. Although he could only afford the rent for like 3 months, or that's it. But he ended up doing that, and then by he forcing himself to surround yourself with those people. So it could be like, hang out in those kind of groups, where do you think you'll find people who are inspiring and more smarter? I think a lot of people go to events for that same reason. In my case, I think I've been perhaps extremely lucky in many ways. The first, not the first, but I think I have been in the academia before, so my background is in research.
Yes.
So I had this kind of liberty, or I have this the benefit of being surrounded in academic environments. Then being in Cambridge also somehow helped me to be surrounded in the environment. So, but I'll say that it just happened organically rather than me having a strategy behind all of that.
Okay. That's interesting, and it's true. It's sometimes letting Lady Luck play its role, it really helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's something that you cannot. There are some things you can do to maximize your luck in a way, but it's also something that plays an important part in everything. So that's why something that I recommend, like everybody, when you read autobiography and everything, or want to be inspired by a leader, also take into account that he probably had some circumstances that helped him, that one that cannot be created now anymore, or it's really hard or costly to create them artificially. So always try to find like what's skill that you can improve, and what's something that didn't depend on the success of that person. It basically help him maximize his success.
Yeah, I think that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at this, the way I kind of looked at it is, and I think if I can remember always I had looked at it, is that I have to be the best of myself, and the rest is not in my hands. So like who
Yes.
come, who with whom I will work, who will be in my life, it's not in my control. I can choose when they come. I can then choose, okay, I continue being around this person or not, or what is. But at the end, I have to be the best of myself, and the universe will then, you attract the kind of people that you are. So if,
Yes.
for example, this classical thing is if you take drugs, you will end up attracting drug addicts. And if you, read a lot of books, most likely you will end up attracting people who read a lot of books. And it just doesn't have to have strategy. It could be just sitting in a bus and reading a book, and then someone next to you might start talking to you because the person is interested and sees that you are reading a book. So it's that the rest just happens. That there's a power of the universe, which I also very firmly believe it. It first starts from inside you. Make yourself the change, and like Gandhi said very well, be the change you want to see. So just be yourself. That's the kind of thing that you want to be, and then naturally people will surround, and then you will find people who are like you or better than you, and naturally you'll end up being in those environments.
Yes, and exactly the only thing, or the only person you have total control over yourself, or as much control as you can possibly have, is yourself. So
Absolutely.
that's really good insight. And Rudradeb, I'm really curious, what is the biggest leadership success story you've witnessed personally?
I think that it has to be what the work with Omdena has been till now. I think what I'm quite proud about what we have achieved in Omdena, right? Like having thousands of people from all over the world, from 80 countries, spending tens of hours every week. So every person on average spending 15, 20 hours every week behind a vision and something, and giving their time and effort. And then to be able to inspire that people and to be able to make people be part of this great journey. I think that's the biggest, let's say, leadership success I could say. Because at the end, it's my company. I'm the founder of it. So I think that's, it has come to some extent as a surprise. So I think a lot of things I didn't think this is how it will end up being, to be very honest. I didn't expect this to be, that's how it should be. Well, first of all, I don't live life with expectations anyway. So I was not expecting anything, but I was still, when I look back, I am quite surprised. And I think some of the qualities that I had developed over the last 10 years helped me to be in this situation, or in this current situation. I think this
What
one is that, of
qualities?
course, yeah, I think one of the hard skills, of course, so that a lot of what I've seen that, let's say, founders, not all, but a lot of AI companies themselves are not technical. I think if you're working with technical people, they appreciate someone being technical. So they have to be like, connect with the language. So I understand that. But so hard skill wise help me. But I think the soft skill, few things really helped me. I think the first one is as over the last 2 years, I've been also mentoring a lot, either in Google for Startups or in Found Institute or WeWork Labs. So since mentoring is another skill is like listening, right? So you're listening to
Yes.
someone and not telling him what to do, but trying to ask the right questions so that they find the answers. That's a good mentor is supposed to do. So I think that skill
Yes.
helped me a lot in executing Omdena, because there I was trying to listen to what people want, what their motivations are, what their aspirations are, why they want to do something, and then give them something or give them what they are looking for. And I think that is the first thing. The second thing is that I firmly believe that we all have truly potential. We all have potential. I also believe that no one wants to be lazy. I believe no one wants to just do nothing in a way like everyone wants to contribute. Everyone has this inherent need to give back something to the world. For various reasons, maybe many people do not show that. Maybe they are not able to be able to execute that. But we all have this inner good in us.
Yes.
Some of you might disagree, saying, "Oh no, what about this person who killed other people?" And I mean, I cannot really talk about everyone, but I do think that overall, by far, most of us have good in us. And I think that the key is to give people that opportunity to show their good. And once you create that opportunity to make people show their good and give them the right motivation and the structure, then the third part is that you don't need anymore to manage them. Because possibly I couldn't have built Omdena if I was managing people. I couldn't have built it. Omdena only works because the people are self-managed, self-organized, because otherwise it would be a headache. If I'm currently, there are like 4 projects running, over 200 people. I mean, that's it would be a nightmare for me.
Yes.
So what I have learned is through all of that is there's good in every one of us. That's a belief that you first really inherent in yourself, really believe that, and then find that good. What is that good? Give them a way to show their good. Give them a way to show that what they could do. Give them the opportunity, and then you move out from managing them. And this is in the startup world also. If you know that there are people like, I think Guy Kawasaki had said that once, or Steve Jobs, I don't remember who said it, that if you hire people smarter than you, and then don't manage them, because it just makes no sense. So we hire people and then let them do the work and don't manage them. So it's the same thing here. What we have been able to do, possibly at scale, without actually having gone through the full hiring process, without actually they are not on paid salary, without actually ever meeting them, and completely in different times location. But that's the part which I've been extremely happy and proud about.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you don't have any managers, anything. You're the only person that basically jumpstarts every project, and then the people that are inside the project, they do all the work.
That's how it was for the first 15 projects or first 16 projects. Okay. And then the last 4 and 5 projects, I have moved out. Once I have built that process, I know exactly what to do. There's a kickoff call. There is a weekly call someone has to run. No management. This is not a management work. This is more like someone there as a point of contact from the Omdena's point of view, that the collaborators can reach out if they are stuck, if they need some help, if someone has to start a weekly call. So that role has been, we have had 4 people now who are kind of doing that, but that's not really the management. But yes, the first 15 out of the 16 projects, it was purely done by me alone.
That's amazing. And have you found that, as you said, that if you get smart people, especially in tech, I find this to be amazing, and something that's counterintuitive is if you hire tech people, software developers, QA persons, the whole team, everything you need to run a successful project, and then you paint the picture of the project, and then you let them self-manage. It usually turns out better than if you try to micromanage or meddle too much with it. Is that something what you
Absolutely.
found?
Absolutely. I think that I always say that a good leader, which is the one quality, a good leader, a good entrepreneur, if there is one quality that you want to develop, it's the ability to hire great people or ability to attract great people. That's the one quality that is really, really important. So once you get the right people, tech people, marketing people, sales people, any people, doesn't matter. Once you get the right people, let them run it. Then there's no point of hiring. So the key quality of a good entrepreneur, a key test is, are you able to attract great people? Same is a key quality of a great leader, and which is understandable, right? A great leader, if you look at politicians and things, okay, they are able to attract people, inspire people, people connect to that. That's a definition of a great leader.
And to be able to recognize like the talents of a person and what are they great, should you also have some knowledge in that field? Do you have, if you're building a tech company, should you have some tech skills, also some marketing skills, sales skills, like to be able then to say, okay, this person is really good, I can, or can you just evaluate them yourself without knowing? So what's your opinion on this?
I do think that for a tech people, hiring the hard skill, and the person who is hiring should evaluate. We of course have to have technical knowledge, otherwise there is no way the person can evaluate that. But I also think that there is a need to evaluate the soft skills, right? The other aspects
Yes.
of this, which maybe or may not, maybe in many cases many companies overlook that. So I think that a great leader, when I say attract the right people, I do not, I think that whether the hard skill of that person, a great leader may or may not be always able to assess. Because the hard skill, let's say I cannot, well, maybe I can assess the sales and the marketing skills, and because as an entrepreneur you do everything, so I might have the ability to assess the sales, the marketing, and the technical because of my background in technology. But maybe not everyone will be able to assess technical details. So what I think that a great
Yes.
leader doesn't have to be able to assess all the skills, the hard skills. They might have people who might help him to assess the hard skills, but the soft skills is something that is absolutely important, that a great leader should
Yes.
be able to assess, which is, I think, that actually a key element of building a great team and working with them.
Well, that's like I'm having a light bulb moment here, and it's true. You should, as the leader, have a conversation with every potential hire and assess their soft skills and how well they develop themselves from the soft skills point of view, and how well they could work inside the team. And that's something that you can do, especially as a leader. You yourself should be really good at soft skills, so then it's really easy to assess and find out if you jive with that other person. And after having this conversation with you, I also had like the idea that yes, if a person has worked on themselves and has really awesome soft skills, like you realize that they're depending on what you need inside the organization, but they align with the values of the organization, the vision, what they have. You could put them inside the team and they would work because they want to help, they like to collaborate, all the good stuff. Then probably they also spent a lot of time developing their hard skills.
Absolutely. I think the hard skills, I personally think, are more easier to develop than the soft skills.
Oh yes, for sure. For sure. And Rudradeb, based on all your life experience, what is your leadership philosophy?
Well, I mean, it's the same. Like leadership philosophy is what I said. Like inspire people, give people opportunities, That's the key thing. Jack Ma said something which is, I find it very, very insightful. He said, it's easy to make money for yourself, but it's very difficult to make money for yourself and make money for others. I think that's a good leader should be able to, well, in one way, make money, help, like make others grow. I think that's a key. Through either could be
Yes.
through inspiration, could be giving opportunities, could be creating opportunities so that they can earn money, whatever is that, but helping other people grow. And I think that's the philosophy of a great leader.
And how from your point of view, how does being a minimalist, how does it blend with leadership?
I mean, minimalism is just my personal way of life. I do not necessarily need everyone to follow my personal choices. So I'm not expecting people or people who are working on Dana also to be minimalist or do things that I like. I think the way I live my life is just my personal choice, because that helps me to be at peace with myself, because that's what I feel, that I'm completely at the best of myself and at peace when I'm a minimalist. I don't have a lot of stuff to carry, and that perhaps helps me, because I'm at peace, me also shows up, in terms of the other traits of being able to listen, trying to encourage other people. So I'm not sure if there's a direct relation, but it might be that just being minimalism, which helps me be true to myself and at peace with what I'm, helps perhaps me to achieve or better leadership goals, or not goals, but let's say leadership traits or personalities.
Yeah, and that's really you touched on something really interesting here. Being at peace yourself, and then how it influences your leadership style. Because if you're content with yourself and happy with yourself, then it's harder to lose your nerve when you have a conversation. So you're calmer, so you can listen and not jump to conclusions and start talking and giving verdicts that then you're going to regret, and you would want to take your words back, but it's too late. After they leave your mouth, there's no way to take them back. So it's something that's for me, it's really, really interesting, like having this ability to be at peace. And as you said, you don't have to be a minimalist. Whatever path, avenue, or philosophy you want to embrace to get to that goal, do it. There are so many methods of achieving the same goal, but it is important, and it's something that I found, like in my own life, the more I could be more calm on the inside, the better I was at relating with people, at empathizing with them, at seeing things from their point of view, at not snapping to decisions. So yeah, it is. Do you think it's a goal that you would recommend, like all people, regardless of what ways they use to achieve it, to become more at peace with themselves?
Okay, so I think that the highest state that we should be trying to achieve is peace and not happiness, because happiness, we cannot be always happy knowing what's going on around the world. There's so many bad things are happening, unfortunately.
Yes.
So I believe if someone says I want to be always happy, I think the person has to be a sociopath or a psychopath to some extent, because then you have to be completely cut off from the emotions of other people. And that's not possible to achieve. But one can be in a state of peace and still be sad. So if unfortunate events happen around the world, and I can feel sad about it, but still be at peace with myself and have the peace. And I can be happy and still be peaceful. So it's very important to be peace, because in today's world, there's so much of violence, both verbal, physical, whatever is happening, people are breaking things. And I would never support that. This anger, there's so much of anger in people. There's so much of judgment. And I think that all comes because of lack of peace in us.
Oh, that's a really deep thought that I'm trying to unpackage here. But from what you're saying, like peace is more like a meta feeling that you have, and it doesn't impede you from also having all the range of other feelings at the same time.
And I've
It helps you
experienced that a lot.
empathize.
Yeah, I have experienced that a lot. Like peaceful is and sad. I've been sad, and you feel sad in you, but you are still at peace. You feel calm because that peaceful comes from this acceptance of that event. So something happened in my life, let's say, and I feel sad about it, but I accept it. I'm not kind of like getting nervous about it, and I just let sink that and let's just observe. Okay, it happened to me. Okay, I accept that it happened.
Okay, it's like how you see sometimes you see in pictures or even in movie. After we bashed Hollywood, I'm going to use like a Hollywood example. It was like when everything goes to hell and it's like on a ship or sinking ship, there's this one person that is calm and at peace and can focus on exactly what needs to get done to minimize all the casualties and get everybody or most of them to safety. And that's, for me, it's also you have to be at peace inside to be able to stay calm in a situation where everything doesn't go according to plan.
Absolutely, and in fact, I have heard many times that when people talk to me, when I travel, when I speak, and I meet people randomly, they feel naturally this peace also in themselves. So this is kind of something without trying to force to other people, without trying to do anything. People just feel that energy around you. So if you have this inner peace, naturally it propagates around the energy around you and other people, and that also attracts people. That people then feel more calmer and nicer, and they might want to then do things with you, work and spend time, whatever. So that's also something I've seen. I've experienced that a lot of times in my past couple of especially 2 years when I was traveling and meeting a lot of people.
That's awesome. And it is an experience when you first get to experience something like this, and it's really, really good. Now, Rudradeb, I'm really curious, for aspiring leaders, what would be your top 3 leadership tips for them?
I haven't really thought about this, but I'm trying to think around now while you asked. So I think the first thing, whatever I said, like try to listen more and don't have this idea that you'll end up being this macho character. Be more empathic, be more inclusive, try to collect people and collective effort rather than dividing, and kind of that's kind of the first thing I will say. That's try to achieve that goal. The second goal would be, I'm thinking about it, that I think that it could be that I presume that finding that inner peace is also very important. I do think that be the best of yourself, or be the best version of yourself, whatever makes you feel good and about yourself, because that would bring this kind of calmness and peace in you, which would be then naturally attractive to other people. Because as I said, that minimalism, when I was answering that question, and I think that if I am not at peace with myself, I may not end up being able to attract people or inspire other people.
Yes.
And the third thing is that don't try too hard to be a leader, right? There's this notion, I want to be leader. I think that just be yourself, just be the best, do the things that you enjoy doing, give your best every single day. And I think that the leader, it will emerge naturally. When you are the best of yourself, the best version, you're doing interesting things, it will naturally attract people to you. Instead of forcing that, just be true to yourself, be the best version, give every day, single day, the best you could do. And then it will evolve organically. Like there is a great, I was listening to a talk, I forgot who was it, but I thought it was very, very interesting. He said that in today's young population, and I've known many of them, are too concerned or both driven and concerned to make a change. And he says that creates a lot of stress and a lot of kind of pressure. If I'm at 21, 22, and I'm thinking, oh, I want to go and change the world, I'm not doing anything, creates a lot of pressure. So, and he said that if you want to do something in the world, start by just making a bed. Start from keeping things in house. Clean your room first. Make a bed. Do things properly for yourself. Take care of yourself. That's where it should change. Be the change yourself, and then rest will naturally flow. Rather than first of all saying, oh, I want to be a great leader, I want to change the world, and then it ends up being, unfortunately, sad. Even if you end up having followers. So like what happens in today's world, there is a lot of Instagram influencers, right? And I think they don't do anything other than just posting some pictures. And they may have lots of likes, but I think they're not at peace. And there's also a lot of stress and sadness and all those things. So I think the key is always to find peace in you, find the best of yourself, be the best rather than trying to be a leader. Once you've achieved that and do the best thing that you could do, naturally things will start happening.
Yes, and I think like the number 3 tip that you gave, like don't force yourself, don't work too hard to expect too much from yourself as a leader, especially when you just got promoted or you moved to a leadership position. As don't expect that you're going to change everything. Probably going to fail a lot, and learn, for God's sake, learn from your failures. That's how you become a better leader. And start with small things. Use them as training wheels to learn your own style, to develop your own style of leadership, how to discuss with people, how to inspire them. It's going to take some time. It's not like somebody says from now on you're a manager, so also a leader. You become overnight. You go to sleep at night, and then the next day you change. No, it's going to take some work, and take it slowly. Don't burn out by taking too much, putting too much on your plate.
Yeah, I think that I agree to all of that. The thing that I will add here is that once you find that inner peace and do things that you are doing yourself, you can then spend 10 hours, 12 hours a day, let's say, working, and you'll still not feel the pressure. I had this conversation just before coming here, and I work 10, 12 hours a day. I love working, but I have never been burned out. I sleep 4 hours a day, not because I have to put an alarm. Perhaps I don't even have a mobile phone, but I just naturally wake up after 4 or 5 hours a day because I'm always rested, because I'm at peace, although I'm working 10, 12 hours a day. So I think there is a notion that we live in a society, unfortunately, Western society and both Eastern societies also, that we have to work hard, put a lot of effort, like it has to be a struggle. What I'm saying, no, it doesn't have to be a struggle. You can work 10, 12 hours, do things that you really enjoy doing, and that feels effortless, and have complete peace, no stress, and you still put a lot of hours into that. And that's what I was saying, that let things happen. Don't try to force things to happen. You have to put the time, you have to put that effort. You have to, if you're just sitting at home and okay, something will happen, nothing will happen. So of course you have to put the time, you have to put the effort. But that effort, it should feel effortless. It's kind of, I hope your listeners are getting the effort is, shouldn't feel like it's an effort. Like, there are things that you could do and you enjoy so much doing that you don't feel that that's something is a hard work. I wrote an article about it, why I don't want to work with people who want to work hard. And I said the same thing, that if someone comes to me and says, I want to work hard, I said, no, I don't want people to work hard. I want you to put the time. Absolutely. If I'm working with someone, my criteria is, are you willing to do a call on Friday evening? Are you going to do a call on Saturday evening? Are you working on weekends or not? That's my criteria. Absolutely. I work 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Absolutely. Or maybe some days I'm taking a break, but I do that. I love that. But that doesn't feel to me an effort. that completely feels me and effortless, and that's the state that we should try to achieve actually.
And I am now mind blown. I like the concept of effortless effort, which is like you don't think they would work together, and it's something probably you have to get to live to know exactly, because just with words it's probably really hard to explain how it feels and how to get there. But you know when you are there.
Yes, absolutely. You know when you are there, but I think the way to get there is starts from inside yourself. Be honest to yourself. Know what we all know what we want to do. We all really know. Unfortunately, we end up doing things out of fear, out of social pressure, peer pressure, parents pressure, whatever, right? There are 20 other factors that makes us do things that are not true to ourselves. And I'm saying be true to yourself. And once you're true to yourself, you really know what you want to do in your life, then whatever you do, it will feel effortless. It takes courage. It does take courage, because often that requires you to go against wishes of your parents, society, people. No one would understand you perhaps. And I have gone through the same thing, but I never had doubts about that. And it's the same. I think it's the same formula for everyone.
Okay. So you just have to have an honest conversation with yourself, which as a
Absolutely.
leader, you should be used to having the tough, honest conversations, and just get a mirror and say like, what do I want? How do I want what kind of life do I desire? And then go after it without apologizing for you reaching out for
Exactly.
your
Yeah, and then you will put a lot of hours, and then you'll naturally attract the kind of people that uh, would be inspired by you. And that's the way I think would be a great leader, because I think one of the key features that people look for is authenticity, honesty. Is the person? I mean, I give talks, and you have listened to my talk, and I don't know what your feedback has been, but I'm just telling you what people have
really
often
good.
said to me. Yeah, people often say that I'm very inspiring, and I that what I talk is very, very, very nice, and I've heard that. But I don't think what I speak is something rocket science. I'm not talking about sending people to Mars, but I think what often I'm talking about is what things I have done. And I think that brings authenticity, that brings honesty. Because a lot of speakers are talking about what others are doing. You should do this, you should do that, what others did. No, but that doesn't, then listener doesn't feel the authenticity, the honesty. So I think that a good leader, if you want to be a good leader, do things, and people will naturally get attracted to that. That creates authenticity and honesty. And that is also a very important thing.
And you also gain a lot of experience really fast if you do things. If you actually go out and do things.
Absolutely. And then and to do things, you have to put a lot of time. I mean, things doesn't happen like, if you really, like I was listening to this talk by Elon Musk, and he said, the fact of the matter is, if you put 80 hours, you will get things done twice faster than someone putting 40 hours a week. And that's absolutely true. You have to put it for 80 hours a week. And I would say that you have to, if you really want to be a change and do things really. But then the question is, where do you want to put this 80 hours per week? Do you want to do things this 80 hours per week which you really don't like and hate? Or you want to do things this 80 hours a week that you really enjoy, and then it will give you money and everything, and brings authenticity and honesty. So I think that's the way I see it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Do work that doesn't feel as work. You would do it even if you wouldn't make so much money out of it, but it's a great idea to also make some money because
you will make money. I think you will make money. I think money. I think money is important, and I always believe money is important. You will make money if you do something authentic, solving a problem. People will be happy to pay you for solving a problem. Like I think that money comes naturally once you try to do things that are true to yourself. I mean, that's what I believe. I've seen that, and yeah.
And Rudradeb, I have a sneaky suspicion that you've read a lot in your life. So I'm really curious, what is the book that had the most profound impact on you?
Oh, I mean, the most impact on me, I have to think, but there are one book that I say to everyone. I mean, it may not have a huge impact on me because I read it when I already was living life like that. But I know when I told other people to read that book, that affected other people a lot. And they thought that that book was really changing a lot of way that the people they saw. And the name of the book is The Surrender Experiment. It's written by it's an autobiography of this guy. I forgot the name of him. I used to remember his name, but I'll just check it out. Michael Singer. So it's written by Michael Singer. It's his autobiography, and it's a great book because he talks about his life, that all he wanted to do in his life was meditate. That's it. But whenever an opportunity came to him, he gave his best to that opportunity without always trying to control anything. The surrender experiment is basically you're surrendering yourself to the universe. Let the universe give you those signs, and then you follow those signs, but you give your best. That is very important. That you give your best to those signs if it feels authentic and honest, right? And then he ended up building a multi-billion-dollar business, basically. So his journey from being just a simple meditation guy, sitting in a room and all that he wanted to do is meditate and nothing else, to building a billion-dollar business. How did he achieve just by surrendering without trying to achieve anything? Yeah, it's exactly what he said. That this is simple. That he did what when you are doing meditation, he had to come. Opportunities came to him one after another. You always get opportunities, and then he picked those opportunities that for him felt perhaps true to him, like teaching, going to school, and then newer opportunities came. It was always authentic to himself. And then it draw more people towards him. Then he started writing a code. Someone came to him and says, okay, do you want to build this piece of software? He said, okay, I will do that because I can do it. And I got this opportunity and I like writing piece of code. So let me put some hours and I would work hard and I build it. And he enjoyed that. And then he built it, and that ended up building, growing and growing and growing. And he was always authentic in actually everything that he did. So that's where the key is, that be authentic to yourself, be in touch. Let the universe show you what, and then follow that path and surrender yourself. And then your life would be super interesting. You may not become a billionaire, because I don't think everyone's path is to be a billionaire, but it would be a life worth living. That's the way I say it. Because if I look at my life, last 3 years has been super interesting, just because I think it's a life that was I would have never expected any of those things happening to me. But I think it happened because I was surrendering myself. So that's a book I can highly recommend to everyone.
Yes, and that's the goal, to have a life that was worth living and not squander it, because each day is precious. So that's a key thought from this, and that book it's really high up on my list now. And I must say, I'm getting so many good recommendations of book. My credit card is trying. Rudradeb, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
LinkedIn.
And for if they want to see the amazing work you're doing on Dena,
so it's also LinkedIn will be the best place. I mean, just feel free to.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, they can find me on Dena, also LinkedIn, and also the website is Facebook page. But I think the LinkedIn would be a good place for people to follow on Dena.
Exactly. And if people want to, especially software developers, want to try their hands at AI, I highly recommend to connect with Rudradeb and his project on Dena, and because it gives you the opportunity to work on AI projects, really cool AI projects in your spare time, and have fun with people from around the world. So I really like the presentation he did here in Romania, and it's a really, really nice project. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Andrei.
And thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure. So many great ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. This was my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.